Tate left a few kisses on Noah's forehead, slow, teasing, and magnetic. My chest tightened, my breath hitched, my fork clattered to my plate, useless. Talia's eyes widened slightly, though her smile didn't falter. He's relentless, she thought, curiosity and a touch of admiration in her gaze, and the poor boy's reaction, priceless. Terrence's paper lowered just enough for him to glance at the scene. He scowled, lips pressing into a thin line, but quickly returned to pretending he hadn't noticed. The nerve, Tate is enjoying himself way too much. And he knows it, Terrence thought, irritation mixing with reluctant fascination. I felt dizzy, woozy, every nerve in my body alert and burning. My pulse raced uncontrollably. I wanted to push him away. I wanted to shout. I wanted to run, but my body betrayed me, frozen under his gaze. Tate's hands gripped the edges of the chair. The scrape against the floor was sharp, deliberate. He slid closer, so close that I could feel the warmth of him seeping into my skin. Inches from me, my stomach coiled tighter with each breath. "You're awfully quiet this morning," Tate murmured, his voice low, teasing, "meant only for me." "Quiet isn't usually your style," he added silently with a glance that made my chest ache. I tried to respond, but my throat refused to cooperate. My mouth was dry, my tongue heavy. "Oh God, please don't let him notice how weak I am," I thought desperately. Talia leaned back in her chair, delicate fingers resting on the table. "Quiet can be quite telling," she said softly, her eyes flicking to me, then to Tate knowingly. "Sometimes it speaks louder than words, especially with him." Terrence's eyes darted from the paper again, more than he wanted to admit. "This is absurd," he grumbled silently. "He's making a spectacle, and he's enjoying it far too much. Of course he is." Tate shifted slightly, brushing his shoulder against mine. That tiny contact made me tremble, every muscle in my body reacting. Why does this feel like torture? I thought. Why is it impossible to look away? "I could sit here all morning," Tate whispered, voice low and intimate, his lips just a breath away from my ear. "Watching you squirm like this, it's entertaining." I shivered, both from the closeness and the deliberate torment of his words. My pulse surged, heat pooling in my chest. He's insane, I thought, completely insane, and yet, I can't stop noticing, I can't stop feeling it. Talia's eyes twinkled, amused, like she'd known all along this would happen. "Well, he does love to see reactions," she mused softly, "even subtle ones." Terrence finally folded his newspaper, setting it aside, gaze locked on me with a mix of irritation and disbelief. "How does he do this every time?" he thought. "And the worst part is, he's so composed, so calm, while the poor kid is unraveling. Typical." I tried to swallow, to force my attention back to breakfast, but my body refused. Every glance from Tate, every slight movement made me dizzy. His hazel eyes, those sharp, teasing, hungry eyes, locked onto mine. "Not yet," Tate said quietly, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "I might let you off later." And suddenly the room seemed to shrink, every sound amplified. Terrence's muttered disbelief, Talia's soft amusement, the scrape of Tate's chair, all of it was deafening. And I, helpless, tense, caught, was at the center of it all. Talia's smile was effortless, warm, like sunshine spilling across the table. "In my yoga class this week," she began, voice light and measured, "we worked on inversions. I finally nailed the headstand without wobbling, and it felt incredible. There's something about..." I tried desperately not to look up, keeping my eyes glued to the plate in front of me, trying to focus on the simple, mundane task of eating. But my concentration shattered when a hand reached across my plate. Tate's left hand, impossibly precise, plucked a slice of ham as if it had always belonged to him. My fork trembled in my fingers, my pulse raced, my chest tightened, and I could feel the heat pooling across my shoulders. Talia's words faltered mid-sentence. Her voice trailed off as she glanced down at the plate, then up at us, and finally smiled almost knowingly. "Well, isn't that bold?" she thought, amusement and approval mingling. "He knows exactly how to provoke him, and he's doing it flawlessly." I tried to return to my eggs, stabbing at them with my fork, my hands shaking. But Tate wasn't done. One by one he lifted my toast, then a strawberry from the small dish of fruit. Every movement was deliberate, calculated. He never once broke eye contact with me. I couldn't look up, not yet. My gaze stayed locked on my plate, as if pretending he didn't exist could protect me. But he was there, closer than close, his body language taut with patience, teasing, and that impossible control. "Still quiet?" Tate said softly, almost a murmur, his voice low enough that only I could hear, though it vibrated against my skin like a challenge. "I think you're hiding something." I froze, my tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. My throat went dry. Why does he have to do this now? I thought, stabbing at a piece of ham that no longer existed. Talia leaned back slightly, crossing her legs gracefully, still smiling. "Oh, this is exquisite," she thought, watching him. "He's like a predator and the poor boy doesn't even realize he's already caught." Terence, who had been pretending to read his newspaper with the utmost focus, let his eyes flicker down just long enough to notice the stolen food. He raised an eyebrow but quickly returned to the paper. Typical, he thought, the kid's enjoying this way too much. And Noah, well, he's falling apart exactly as expected. My fork hit empty plate spaces as Tate swiped the last piece of toast. I finally let out a small, frustrated sigh. "Tate," I started, voice tight, but I couldn't look up. Tate tilted his head, lips curved into that maddening half-smile, eyes locked on mine. "Is that a complaint I hear?" I swallowed hard, heat rising to my cheeks. My eggs, my ham, my toast, every little corner of breakfast had disappeared. I couldn't ignore him anymore. I finally lifted my sleep-addled gaze and our eyes met. His hazel dark eyes were sharp, teasing, unblinking, and utterly relentless. Talia's smile widened imperceptibly. "Oh dear," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "He's done it. He's made him look at him." Terence sighed, folding his paper now. "You two are impossible," he muttered, his voice low, half complaint, half resigned amusement. "Why do I even try to ignore this?" I exhaled shakily, forcing words past the lump in my throat. "Can you not," I said, voice barely louder than a whisper, "stop stealing my food?" Tate leaned in slightly, the movement small but enough that his shoulder brushed mine, his smile widening. "Not stealing," he corrected softly, still eyeing me. "Sharing, it's more fun this way." I gritted my teeth. "Sharing is, you know, asking first," I managed, though my words were weak, my voice quivering despite myself. Tate's grin deepened. "And where's the fun in that?" he murmured, fingers brushing over the edge of the plate as if daring me to react. "You're too quiet, Noah, too tense. I like it when you talk." Talia's laughter was quiet but deliberate, the kind that came from someone enjoying a private joke. "It's true," she said lightly. "He does like to see reactions. You're giving him exactly what he wants." Terence muttered under his breath, folding the paper into a neat square. "I don't even. This is ridiculous," he said, though his tone betrayed the faintest hint of reluctant amusement. "How does he do this every single time?" I ran a hand through my hair, trying to regain composure. "You're impossible," I muttered, finally meeting his gaze fully. "I can't even." "Say what?" Tate interrupted, tilting his head. His voice was low, teasing, intimate. "Say it, Noah, out loud, don't hide from me now." I swallowed hard, knowing there was no ignoring him. "You're making me crazy," I admitted, my voice tight, half frustration, half something else I couldn't name. Tate's grin widened, victorious. "Good," he said softly, almost a whisper meant only for me. "That's exactly the effect I was going for." Talia's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Oh yes, he's enjoying this far too much," she thought, leaning back in her chair. And Noah, completely captivated. Terence's jaw tightened. "This is torture, watching this unfold," he muttered to himself, "and yet, I can't look away." I exhaled shakily, reaching for a piece of fruit Tate had just taken again, determined not to give him the satisfaction of total control. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. "You can have the toast, but leave the rest alone." Tate leaned closer, smirking, eyes locked on mine as if reading every thought. "Oh. I think we can work something out," he murmured. And just like that, the morning had shifted entirely, the air charged, every glance and movement electric, every bite of food a challenge, every second a test I couldn't escape. I reached for my orange juice, desperate for something to ground me. My fingers brushed the glass, then it was gone. Tate's hand closed around it first. His eyes flicked to mine, sharp, teasing, unyielding. In one smooth motion he tipped the glass to his lips and drank nearly half in one swallow, the liquid glinting like sunlight in his hand. I froze, fork hovering uselessly over my plate, pulse hammering in my ears. My mouth went dry. Seriously, I thought, staring at the nearly empty glass, this is not happening. He's impossible. Tate set the glass back in front of me perfectly upright and leaned back in his chair, continuing to pick at the food I had been so carefully trying to protect. My eggs, my fruit, and my toast, nothing was safe. He never looked away from my face, watching every tiny reaction, every flicker of frustration or panic. Talia, still trying to maintain the polite rhythm of conversation, picked up the thread she'd started before Tate's latest interruption. "So, like I was saying about my yoga class," she began, trying to sound calm and measured, "we've been focusing on inversions. The headstand, for example, is—" Her words trailed off almost immediately as she glanced down at the plate, saw the toast gone, a piece of fruit missing, and the orange juice reduced to half. Her smile didn't falter, but it sharpened, slightly amused. "Oh, he's relentless, and the poor boy, he's completely caught," she thought. She tried again. "The headstand is a really transformative pose, it—" Tate leaned slightly toward me, shoulder brushing mine as he reached for a strawberry. My fork came down hard on the plate, making a sharp clang. "You're quiet again," he murmured, soft and deliberate. "I like it, it makes me wonder what you're thinking." I swallowed hard, heat rising to my cheeks. "I'm thinking about how much you've eaten," I muttered, voice tight. "And that you—" Tate's smirk widened and he cut me off mid-sentence. "And that I—" His fingers hovered over my remaining eggs, teasing, "You're going to have to finish that thought, Noah." Talia's eyes darted between us. She cleared her throat, desperately trying to keep the yoga conversation alive. "And once you've mastered the headstand, you start working on arm balances. It's really about control and focus, and I—" Her words faltered again as Tate plucked another piece of toast from Noah's plate, lifting it almost ceremoniously to his mouth. "Yes, exactly like that," Talia thought, trying to smile through her growing amusement. "He's made him look at him. He's won. And Noah, oh, Noah is completely undone." Terrence, newspaper folded neatly beside his plate, muttered under his breath, "I can't, this is ridiculous." His eyes flicked briefly to me, then to Tate, a mixture of exasperation and awe in his gaze. "He's like a predator, and Noah, well, Noah doesn't even know how to defend himself." I finally let out a shaky sigh, knowing I had to speak, had to fight back somehow. "Tate," I said, voice tight, almost pleading, "can you please stop taking everything off my plate?" Tate leaned back in his chair, lips curved in that maddening half-smile. "Stop," he echoed softly, his eyes locked on mine. "And ruin all the fun, not a chance." I felt my hands ball into fists at my sides. My orange juice, my toast, my eggs, it wasn't just breakfast anymore. It was a battlefield. Every stolen bite, every teasing glance, every deliberate movement was calculated, and he wasn't breaking eye contact for a second. Talia tried again, leaning forward, voice gentle, attempting to redirect the conversation. "Well, inversions also help with circulation and core strength. It's amazing what—" Tate leaned closer, just enough to make my chest tighten, and plucked another piece of fruit off the right corner of my plate. I flinched, nearly knocking my fork off the plate. Talia froze mid-word, sighing softly. "Yoga talk is pointless right now," she thought, smiling faintly despite herself. "All attention is on them, and honestly, it's entertaining as hell." Terrence shook his head, muttering under his breath as if scolding both of us silently. "This is insane," he said, though his tone carried the faintest trace of reluctant fascination. "How does he do this every time? And Noah, he's completely mesmerized. I can't even look away." I finally gave in, exhaling shakily, eyes locked on Tate's. "You're impossible," I muttered, heat rising in my chest, voice rough. "Every time." Tate leaned slightly closer, brushing a finger across the edge of my plate. "Exactly," he said softly, almost a whisper, "and I think you like it." Talia's laugh was quiet, elegant, unable to hide her amusement. "He's enjoying this far too much," she murmured, shaking her head, and Noah, completely captivated. I tried to take a sip of the now half glass of orange juice, careful to avoid Tate's gaze, but he caught my movement immediately, tilting the glass just slightly as if to tease me further. My pulse jumped, heat pooling across my chest. Every second, every glance, every stolen bite forced me to react, and I couldn't stop myself. Terrence folded his hands on the table, letting out a long, exasperated sigh. "This is absurd, but he's good, too good. Noah has no chance." I stared at Tate, words stuck in my throat. You're impossible, I said again, quieter, almost a groan. Tate's smile widened, and you can't stop noticing it, he whispered just for me, not one bit. Tate's left hand landed deliberately on my thigh, the weight of his palm firm through the fabric of my pants. My body froze, a jolt of heat and shock shot through me. I was startled, jerking slightly, and my hand knocked the orange juice glass sideways. The liquid sloshed over the rim, spilling onto the white tablecloth. My heart slammed in my chest. "Oh shit, sorry," I yelped, frantically grabbing a napkin to mop up the mess. Tate's fingers tightened subtly around my pant leg, anchoring me in place despite my panic. His eyes flicked down at the spilled juice, then back up at me, smirk growing, amused and entirely unrepentant. Perfect reaction, he thought, just like I knew he'd have. Heart racing, panicked, helpless, exactly how I like him. I muttered through my panic, reaching for the orange juice pitcher. I'll refill it. Sorry. My hands shook slightly as I poured, careful to avoid another disaster, my pulse hammering in my ears. Oh God, keep it together, Noah, I thought, just keep it together, don't let him see how much this is affecting you. Tate leaned slightly closer, fingers still pressing into my thigh. Yes. Look at him, flustered, tense. He's trying so hard to act normal, but he can't. He's completely aware of me. Every nerve in his body is mine to tease. As I set the glass back in front of me, Tate's hand shifted, sliding slightly toward the edge of my plate. Then, with an almost playful authority, his fingers hooked the side of the dish and began to pull it away. My plate slid, forcing me to reach out instinctively, but it was already gone, just beyond my reach. You've eaten enough, Noah, Tate murmured softly, almost teasing, almost intimate, like it was the most natural statement in the world. His eyes were locked on mine, unblinking, teasing, a smirk playing across his lips. I froze mid-breath, hands hovering uselessly. Wait, what, Tate, hey, my plate. My voice was tight, frustrated, tinged with helplessness. You can't just don't take my plate, he can't do this. Tate's smirk deepened, leaning back slightly in triumph. He's flustered, so tense, so reactive, and yet, so utterly captivated. I can see every thought running through his head, every pulse, every heartbeat, every second he realizes he can't resist me. I gritted my teeth, jaw tight. I can't give him satisfaction, I can't let him win this. But he's right here, inches away, I can't. I swallowed hard, heat pooling in my chest as I tried to assert some control. Tate, come on, that's my food. Tate's hand lingered for a moment, still holding the plate just out of reach, fingers brushing the edge like a casual reminder of his control. You've had enough, he repeated, voice soft, teasing, intimate, and I love how he wants it back but doesn't know how to ask without giving himself away. Talia, still trying to reclaim the conversation, waved a hand lightly toward the yogurt dish she'd been discussing. And so, inversions, she began again, but her words faltered as she watched him pull at Noah's plate. Yoga talk is useless here, she thought, smiling despite herself. He's completely undone. Terrence's newspaper remained folded beside him now, hands clasped over the top. He exhaled slowly, muttering under his breath, "This is insane, completely insane." His eyes flicked at me, then to Tate, a mix of disbelief and reluctant admiration etched into his features. How does he do this every single time? And Noah, he's falling apart exactly as he should. I finally exhaled, shaking my head, cheeks burning. Tate, stop it, I said, softer this time, almost a plea. I'm not done yet. Tate's smirk softened into something slower, more deliberate, almost intimate. You'll always want more, he said quietly, fingers letting the plate rest just beyond me, and I'll always know it. Heat surged through me, pulse hammering. Oh God, he's impossible, completely impossible, and yet, I can't stop noticing, I can't stop thinking about how close he is. Every inch, every movement, it's torture. Tate's gaze never wavered, never blinked, fixed entirely on my face as if reading every fleeting thought. He's mine in this moment, every reaction, every heartbeat. He doesn't even realize how tightly I have him caught, and he's deliciously helpless about it. I gritted my teeth, hand hovering uselessly over the table, trying to reclaim some small semblance of control. You're insane, I muttered, voice rough, almost a groan. Tate leaned back slightly, hand still resting lightly on my thigh, eyes locked on mine. And you like it, he murmured, every word deliberate, teasing, intimate. You can't hide it from me. Tate's hand didn't move. It stayed on my thigh, brushing and pressing just enough to make me burn from head to toe. His fingers lingered, soft and deliberate, teasing me without mercy. I tried to concentrate on my eggs, on anything else, but his gaze never left mine. Then something snapped. My pulse surged into anger, frustration, and pure, reckless defiance all at once. I grabbed the nearest thing in reach, my orange juice glass, and without thinking I hurled it straight at him. The liquid arced through the air, splashing over his face in a bright, sticky wave. Tate gasped, sputtering and coughing as orange juice dripped from his hair down his temple and soaking the collar of his shirt. His hazel eyes widened, briefly shocked, briefly amused, while droplets ran down his cheek and onto the table. He was genuinely drowning in the bright liquid, wheezing, trying to blink and recover. Talia froze mid-word. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again, and then she started laughing, deep, full, uncontrollable laughter that shook her body. "Oh my, he's never nobody, oh," she practically doubled over, wiping tears from her eyes. "No one has ever dared to do that to Tate," she thought, still gasping between giggles. "And he's actually struggling, this is incredible." I didn't wait to see what he would do. I shoved my chair back and rose from the table, legs stiff but moving, my heart pounding in adrenaline-fueled triumph. My orange juice-stained hands shook as I tried to get away. Finally, I thought I did something he didn't expect. Tate, dripping and sputtering, lifted a hand to swipe the juice from his face. "Oh, Noah," he wheezed, hair plastered against his forehead, chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. His usual composure was gone, replaced by flustered, disbelieving chaos. He threw liquid at me. No one has ever done that, and yet, damn it, I kind of love it." Talia's laughter only grew louder, echoing through the room. I have never seen, oh my God." She leaned back in her chair, wiping tears from her eyes, completely unable to stop. "He's drenched, flustered, sputtering, and Noah is walking away like a hero. This is perfect, absolutely perfect." I tried to steady my breathing as I navigated toward the living room, adrenaline still surging. I actually did it. He didn't expect it. He's drenched, he's human, and he's flustered, and oh my God, this feels amazing. Tate finally managed to sit upright, juice dripping from his hair and glasses sliding down his face. He blinked rapidly, swiping at the liquid as best he could. "Okay, he's bold, insanely bold, and I don't even feel angry, maybe a little impressed. Damn it, Noah, you're impossible." Tate burst into the living room, hair dripping orange juice down his face and shirt, a wild, chaotic look in his hazel eyes. Every step he took left tiny splashes on the floor, evidence of his earlier humiliation, but he moved with a feral precision that made my chest tighten. I grabbed my coat, shoving my arms into the sleeves, intending to leave again. My heart pounded in my chest, not just from the adrenaline of the juice incident, but from the knowledge that Tate wasn't done with me. "Just get out," I thought, pulling the zipper up over my trembling hands. "Just leave, don't look back." Before I could make it to the front door, a firm hand shot out and clamped around my wrist. Sharp, insistent, I froze, twisting slightly. "Tate, let go," I said, voice tight, heart hammering. I tugged, pulling with every ounce of strength I had, but his grip didn't budge. Tate's eyes blazed, drenched hair plastered to his forehead, orange juice dripping onto the floor. "No," he said softly, almost a growl. His grip tightened just enough to let me know he wasn't joking. "Not this time." I jerked again, frustration flaring. "Tate, I'm trying to leave, please." "No," he repeated, sharper now, voice edged with something deeper, anger, desperation, something raw I couldn't quite name. His thumb pressed lightly against the back of my wrist, just enough to anchor me in place. "You left me again last night." The words hit me harder than the orange juice ever could, my pulse spiked, breath hitching. God, he's serious, he's not joking, he's angry, hurt, and he wants me to feel it. My chest tightened, heat pooling in my stomach as guilt and panic collided. I swallowed hard, heart hammering. "Tate, my voice faltered, I didn't know what to say. My chest was tight, heat radiating down my arms from the wrist he still held. "Why now, why like this? I just wanted to get away." Tate's grip didn't loosen, but his voice softened slightly, lower now, intimate and dangerous all at once. "I said no," he murmured. "You can't leave, not yet, not when you do this to me, not when you leave me alone like that." I swallowed, gripping my coat tighter, torn between pulling away and the strange pull of wanting to stay, wanting to face him. He's serious, he's vulnerable, angry, and I can feel it all. not letting me run, not letting me hide. Tate leaned just slightly closer, hair still dripping orange juice onto the floor but eyes fierce, sharp, unwavering. No more running, Noah, not tonight, not again. I exhaled shakily, shoulders trembling, trapped between panic and the undeniable gravity of the moment. He's not joking, he's not letting me go, and, oh God, I don't think I even want him to. Talia's laughter had long since faded, replaced with an almost awed silence. I've never seen him like this, she thought, leaning back against the doorway. And Noah, he's caught, completely caught. This is something else entirely. Terrence rubbed his jaw, eyes narrowed, muttering, oh, this is bad, for Noah, or maybe, for Tate, no, for both, definitely for both. His disbelief was palpable, but there was also a reluctant acknowledgement this was no ordinary confrontation. I tried again to pull away, heart hammering, words failing me. Tate, I didn't. You left me, he cut in sharply, voice breaking slightly, raw and unfiltered. And I don't forgive that easily. Every inch of my body went rigid. He's vulnerable, he's angry, and I hurt him, I made him feel alone, and now, he won't let me leave. Tate's eyes softened fractionally, still locked on mine, fingers tight around my wrist. Stay, remain here with me, don't run, I can't lose you again. No, I'm not staying, I'm not moving back in, I said, voice shaking but firm. Tate froze, eyes blazing, grip lingering on my wrist, defiant, bold, maddening, he thought. I'm done letting you control me, I added, chest tight. Tate's lips curved into a low smirk. Impossible, and I won't let you go. I took another step toward the door, fingers curling around the cold brass knob. My chest heaved, heart hammering, but part of me still wanted to leave, to get some space, some distance from this storm of a man in front of me. I shouldn't. I need air, I thought, voice tight in my own mind. But then Tate's voice, low and desperate, sliced through the tension. I love you, Noe, don't go far away, don't leave me, don't leave us. Please, he begged, every word trembling with raw emotion. My breath hitched, heat pooled in my chest, threatening to make me collapse right there. God, he's crying, he's really crying, and it's me, he's me. Not anyone else. Tate's grip on the edge of his shirt tightened as he leaned closer, hazel eyes shining with pleading vulnerability. I know I'm clingy and immature, but my tenderness for you isn't imaginary, he whispered, voice breaking, words spilling like confession. It's real, I can't lose him. He's the only one who matters, the only one I want, the only one I need. I sighed, fingers trembling on the doorknob. No, I said softly, almost a whisper. No, I'm not leaving, not because I don't want to, but because he's desperate and I care too much to just walk away. Tate shook his head slightly, hot tears streaking down his cheeks. Then why, he begged, voice cracking, chest heaving, were you so unhappy, so miserable that you had to go? My throat tightened, a lump forming. He wants me to explain. He wants to fix it. He can't stand uncertainty. No, I whispered again, voice low, heart thrumming against my ribs. No, I wasn't miserable, but I needed to breathe. I needed to know I could stand on my own sometimes. Tate's face fell slightly, then lifted with pleading fire, gaze locking on mine with unflinching intensity. Then why? He asked again, tears glistening, trembling fingers reaching toward me. Tell me, Noe, I'll fix it, anything, I just need to know. I can't stand thinking I hurt you, I can't stand losing you, please. He's desperate, vulnerable, my favorite person in the world, begging me to explain so he can fix it. I can't just walk away. My chest tightened, emotions twisting in every direction, but I stayed, letting him feel the weight of my presence. I can't abandon him, not now, not ever. I stared at him for a long moment, chest tight, throat dry. In my mind, a desperate, unspoken plea formed. Fall in love with me, Tate, that would fix everything. But even as I thought it, I knew it wasn't something Noah could force. Tate couldn't fix this. Maybe if I loved Tate half as much as I currently loved him, staying wouldn't be this hard. There's nothing you can do, Tate, I finally said aloud, voice quiet, almost brittle. You have to let me go, you can't meet my needs and my feelings, and I'm not entitled to think that you should. Tate froze, his hazel eyes widened, confusion flickering across his face like a shadow. Feelings? Noe has needs and feelings I can't meet, since when? His chest tightened, a mixture of disbelief, frustration and hurt swirling inside him. He's saying I can't satisfy him, but how can that be? I thought I knew him, I thought I was enough. Huh, Tate finally said aloud, voice low and raw, a rough edge to it as he looked at me, trying to reconcile what he just heard. You think I can't meet your needs? I nodded slowly, avoiding his eyes, letting the weight of the truth settle between us. I can't make him responsible for everything. I can't let him think he has to fix me, not even for him. Tate ran a hand through his damp hair, still sticky from the orange juice incident, chest heaving slightly. Needs, feelings. Noe has needs and feelings I can't meet? Impossible. He's mine, everything I've done. It was for him, for us, and now he's telling me I'm not enough. He began, struggling, voice breaking slightly. I thought I knew you, You can't know everything, Tate, I interrupted softly, and I don't expect you to, but you need to understand. I need more than what you can give right now. I need to be me. Tate's jaw clenched, a storm of emotions crossing his face, hurt, frustration, desperation, disbelief, but his hand didn't reach for me. He froze mid-motion, grappling with the impossible truth. He's asking me to let him go, and I don't even know how. I took a shaky breath, gripping the doorknob again. I love him, I always have, but maybe love isn't enough this time. What am I not giving you, Noe? Tate whimpered, his voice tight with desperation, face hovering just a centimeter from mine. His hazel eyes searched mine, pleading raw, What needs can't I meet? Tate's mouth touched my cheek, but I instinctively recoiled, stepping back. My movement made his chest tighten, his jaw clench. Tate saw it and thought. He flinched. He actually flinched away from me. That hurts. It hurts more than I can say, Tate thought, frustration and pain mixing in his chest. You keep flinching when I try to touch you, he said sharply now, anger threading his words, though his eyes still burned with hurt. Did I hurt you? Say something that made you uncomfortable. Answer me, Noe. I swallowed hard, voice quiet, almost fragile. No, I whispered, shaking my head. No, you didn't hurt me, you didn't say anything wrong, I can't fully lean into this, I need space. I can't let you fix me, not right now. Tate's hand twitched slightly as if reaching for me, then froze. His lips pressed into a thin line, jaw tight, breath ragged. No, he's not rejecting me, he's not saying no to me. Then why is he pulling away? I just want him, I need him, I can't lose him even for a step away. I kept my gaze lowered, heart hammering, fingers gripping my coat. I love him, I do, but this is too much to let myself dive into. I have to breathe, I have to stand on my own. Tate exhaled slowly, tremor in his voice. Noe, he murmured, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath against my cheek. I just want him to trust me, I just want him to stay. Why is it so hard to show him how much I care? Goodbye, Tate, I said, finally facing away from him, hand lingering on the doorknob. My chest was tight, pulse racing, and every fiber of me screamed to leave, to get space to breathe. No, Tate yelled, his voice raw and explosive. Before I could react, he surged forward, hands wrapping around my waist, pulling me toward him with feral intensity. You're not leaving me? His words cracked like thunder in the quiet of the room, desperate and demanding all at once. I stumbled slightly under his grip, heart hammering. Tate, I say when we're done, not you, he hissed, face pressing against my neck. His warm, urgent breath sent shivers down my spine, his arms locked around me like a bear hug, crushing my torso against his. You leave and I swear to God we're going to have a problem, he growled, voice low, dangerous and intimate. In that moment I could see how completely he was unraveling, every ounce of control shattered, replaced by pure, desperate need. Noe, you're mine, you're my favorite, like my favorite toy truck I never want anyone else to touch. And you dare to say goodbye, you'll not go, stay, I order you to stay. I swallowed hard, body pressed to his, heat pooling in my chest. He's feral, desperate for me. He's not just asking, he's demanding, and I can feel how much it matters to him, how much he needs me. God, he's impossible. Tate stomped his foot on the floor, emphasizing his dominance, shaking the air with his fury and intensity. Obey me, he hissed, voice raw, eyes blazing into mine, burning through every ounce of hesitation. Every instinct told me to resist, but the pull, magnetic, urgent, terrifying, was undeniable. I tried to pull away, but his grip tightened, warmth and force anchoring me to him. He won't let me leave, he can't, he's too desperate, and somehow I can't stop wanting to stay, even when I know I should. Tate's chest heaved against mine, arms locked as if he would never let go. Stay, Noe, I mean it, I need you here, I need you, he whispered fiercely, voice low, nearly a growl. Every word was a command, a plea, a confession, and it struck me like a physical force. I swallowed, trembling, caught between panic, heat, and an undeniable ache. He's unrelenting, he's all in, and somehow, part of me doesn't want to leave, not really, not when he's like this, he's impossible, and yet, I can't resist him. Terrence was slouched in the living room, arms crossed, a lazy smirk tugging at his lips. I have a leash in the garage, he drawled, voice dripping with amusement. If you want to tie your pet up out back, Tate. Talia doubled over in laughter, clutching her sides. Oh my God, he really is acting like a toddler, she gasped between giggles. Tate's hazel eyes flashed like wildfire, lips parted in a feral wail as he held me against him. His arms squeezed my torso like I was the most precious Christmas present some parent was foolish enough to take away. Every ounce of him was desperate, possessive, frantic. Noe, stay, you're mine, I won't let you leave, not now, not ever. I squirmed slightly, caught between panic and a strange rush of warmth, heart hammering. He's impossible, and completely terrifying, and yet, I can't stop feeling drawn to him. Grow up. Tate, Terrence murmured softly, voice trembling but firm. You're acting ridiculous. Tate's grip didn't loosen, face pressing close, voice low and pained. Ridiculous, maybe, but he's mine, and no one takes him from me. Tate's father, who had been quietly observing from the corner, shook his head slowly, exhaling in disbelief. Let your pet go, Tate, he said, voice calm but firm. God, this is absurd, and yet somehow, mesmerizing. The boy's never behaved like this ever, and Noah, he's completely caught up in it. Tate's jaw clenched, chest rising and falling rapidly, still holding me close. His eyes glimmered with frustration, desperation, and something almost like adoration. I can't let him go, he's mine, he's always been mine, and if anyone tells me otherwise, I'll lose it. I let out a shaky sigh, heart racing, trying to steady my nerves as his arms remained locked around me. He's so impossibly stubborn. And yet, God, I want him to feel this, to understand how much I care. I can't run, not now, not from him. Talia wiped tears from her eyes, still giggling softly. I can't even. I've never seen anyone act like this, she whispered, shaking her head. Terrence just leaned back, a smirk never leaving his face. Yeah, good luck with that one, he muttered under his breath. Terrence leaned back in his chair, a smirk plastered across his face, clearly enjoying the spectacle. You know, he said lazily, glancing at the bookshelf, there's a dog collar up there, might fit Noah nicely. Tate's eyes narrowed, veins in his neck pulsing as his jaw clenched. Stop it, he thought, heart hammering with a mix of fury and possessiveness. He's not my pet, or a dog, he hissed, voice sharp enough to make the room flinch. His hands flexed at his sides as if he wanted to snatch Noah back just to prove it. Talia doubled over in laughter, clutching her stomach. Roll over, Noah, roll over and Tate will pet your belly, she teased, breathless from giggling. Oh God, I can't believe this is happening. He's squeezing him like a toy and Noah's actually standing his ground. This is priceless. Stop it, Tate bellowed, face red with fury, shaking slightly as he pressed forward. I mean it, stop, he's not a dog, he's mine, and no one treats him like that. I swallowed hard, gripping the doorknob again, pulse racing as I forced myself to speak. Goodbye, Tate, I said, voice shaking but firm, attempting to turn away again. Tate froze mid-step, chest heaving, eyes blazing with disbelief, hurt, and desperation all at once. Goodbye? Again? Not today, not ever. I won't let him walk away. I can't. He's mine, and everyone needs to understand that. He removed his hands from me, opting to shatter the miniatures Talia loved instead. While Tate was breaking his mom's crystal collection, I ran upstairs to lock myself in the spare room. Once he noticed my missing body, he followed my retreating form, but I locked my door, leaving him out in the hallway banging on the door. Tate stood outside the spare door all day, silent, unwavering, like a sentinel who refused to blink. Every shadow, every creak of the house, every distant noise made him shift slightly, but he never left. His eyes were fixed on the door, hazel eyes blazing with stubborn determination and unspoken longing. He'll come out. He has to. I'm not moving until he does. Not today, not ever. Noe, you're not leaving me. Inside, I paced, coat still in hand, heart hammering from exhaustion, frustration, and the ache of wanting things to be simpler. Every glance at the door reminded me of the stubborn, desperate man on the other side. He won't leave, he won't, and maybe I can't leave either, not while he's like that, waiting, burning for me. By 9 in the evening, reality settled heavily on me. My resolve wavered, the stubborn defiance of the day crumbling against the weight of his unwavering presence. It's hopeless, I admitted silently. He's not leaving. He'll wait all night if he has to, and part of me doesn't even want him to stop waiting. Tate's mind raced as the hours crawled by, fear and hope warring within him. Don't give up, not now, not ever. I can't lose him again. He'll come out. He has to. I'll wait. All day, all night, 1,000 nights if it takes it. Just don't leave me, Noe. I stopped packing, leaning against the wall, exhausted but unable to fully turn away from the door. He's there, he's not moving, and I don't think I have the strength to leave him waiting any longer. It's hopeless for me, and maybe for him too. Noe, let me in please, he begged. No, I stated without weakening my stance. Leave me alone, Tate. No, Tate kicked the door twice before pulling on it. I shut off the lights in my room and practically told him I was going to bed. My eyelids sank quickly and I drifted into sleep, drowning out the faint kicking and knob noises reverberating against my door. But by 2 in the morning, a clever member of the Blue House had finally manipulated the tumblers, easing the door open and silently accomplishing his goal, to sleep next to me. The bed dipped beneath the sudden weight and my cherished blanket slid to the floor, discarded. Tate disrobed silently, choosing the position he wanted with a decisiveness that made my heart skip even in my sleep. He wouldn't let me sleep alone, because the thought of me leaving, even in the dead of night, terrified him. I lay on my back, dreaming of him, unaware that the object of my fantasies was climbing nude onto my chest. Tate's body pressed against mine, draped like a living, dark-haired, warm blanket, every curve and muscle perfectly aligned with mine. My warmth was his anchor, his conquest, his reassurance that I was still here. Tate pulled the duvet over both of us, cocooning us in darkness and heat. Perfect, he thought smugly, chest rising and falling against mine. This is mine, all of me, all of him. I've finally got what I wanted, him beneath me, warm, soft, and helpless against my body. He can't leave now, not while I'm like this, not while I'm holding him, not while he's mine. Every inch of him, from his heart beating against mine to his fingers lightly brushing the sheets, reinforced the truth in his mind. I won't let him leave. Not tonight, not ever. He's mine, and I'll make sure he knows it in every heartbeat, in every breath. He's here and he can't go anywhere, not from me, not ever. Tate exhaled softly, finally allowing himself a smug smile, eyes closing as he settled more comfortably. And now I sleep, and I'll dream with him on top of him, feeling every bit of what I want. I'm selfish, I'm clingy, I'm possessive, and I don't care, he's mine. Tate's new chosen sleeping position was on his stomach, his entire body draped over Noah's chest like a human dark-haired toasty blanket. Tate was smug because his desires had been fulfilled by the warm nude body beneath his, by the blonde boy he liked. The next morning, Tate woke before me. His eyes fluttered open just enough to meet mine, still smiling, oblivious to the tension radiating from me. Good morning, Tate said sleepily as if everything was perfectly fine. You shouldn't play hard to get, Noe. I opened my eyes and saw the weight of Tate draped across me, body warm and heavy against mine, despite the fact that I had locked the door. Tate must have picked the lock. My chest tightened, pulse hammering as frustration and disbelief collided. I ran a hand over my face, trying to steady myself. No, Tate, this isn't fine. You can't just do whatever you want and ignore me. You can't keep me trapped like this, not last night, not now, I said, voice low but sharp, each word punctuated by my rising anger and exhaustion. I can't let him think this is acceptable. I can't. He needs to understand boundaries. I'm not his property. Tate blinked, eyes wide for a fraction of a second, the smile fading as my words hit him like a slap. But even then I could see the stubborn defiance lurking beneath, the silent refusal to fully yield to limits. I know I crossed a line, but he's here, he's mine, and I won't let him slip away, not like this, not ever. He belongs with me. I stood, arms crossed over my chest, feeling a mixture of exhaustion, disbelief, and fierce resolve. I'm serious, Tate, you need to listen. I'm not some part of you that your body can cling to whenever you feel like it. I'm a person, and right now I need space. Respect that. My words were steady, but my pulse betrayed the storm inside me. He has to understand, I love him, yes, but I can't live like this under constant pressure and insistence. I need room to breathe. Tate let out a quiet, reluctant groan, almost a soft hiss of frustration, the kind that made his shoulders tense before he sank slightly lower onto the bed. He looked embarrassed. Caught somewhere between guilt and defiance. Space, he wants space, but it's impossible. I can't just step back, I can't stop thinking about him, not for a second, and yet, I hear him clearly. I just don't want to obey completely, not yet. The tension between us hung thick in the air, tangible and electric, a silent tug-of-war between my need for boundaries and his obsessive devotion. For now he didn't argue. For now he let me stand, let me speak, let me assert myself, and for the first time in hours I felt a fraction of relief. It's not surrender, I reminded myself, it's not giving up, it's just temporary. He'll still be here, and for now that's enough. Tate smirked, the corners of his lips curling in that infuriating, possessive way that made my pulse skip. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted a hand and brushed it over my cheek, warm fingers grazing my skin with a casual intimacy that both thrilled and irritated me. "You play hard to get," Tate murmured, voice low, teasing yet threaded with that familiar edge of obsession. "I like games." His snapping, serious hazel eyes gleamed with mischief and something darker, desire tempered by possessiveness. "Noah thinks he can resist me. Fine, I'll make him wish he couldn't while enjoying myself teasing him. I'll make him feel that he belongs to me even if he refuses to admit it." Noe climbed off the bed, glaring at Tate for entering the spare room without permission and opening a locked door. Before I could even get fully out of bed, Tate lunged at me. One second I was standing beside the mattress, the next his arms wrapped around my waist and he dragged me down with him. We hit the floor with a thud and he immediately pinned me there, wrestling like it was some kind of competition he absolutely could not afford to lose. "Tate, what are you doing?" I snapped, trying to twist out from under him. He tightened his grip, breathing hard, eyes blazing with that familiar mix of stubbornness and desperation. "You need to know your place, Noah," he said sharply. "Lately, you've gotten airs above your station." I stared at him in disbelief, trying to push his shoulder away. "My what?" "You heard me?" His voice was cold now, rigid with certainty. "You're a guest here, your purpose is to sleep in my bed and keep me company." Before I could react, he hauled me up by the arm and dragged me across the room, shoving me back onto his mattress. The bed creaked under the force of it. "This," he said firmly, planting a hand beside my shoulder to keep me from getting up, "is where you belong." My jaw clenched. Tate leaned closer, glaring down at me like he expected obedience to just happen. "So, put the idea out of your head," he continued, voice hard and absolute, "that I'm going to allow you to sleep in the spare room. The idea doesn't please me, and anything that doesn't please me is not going to happen." For a moment, neither of us moved. His chest rose and fell with quick breaths, his grip still tight around my wrist, like letting go would mean losing something important. I stared back at him, anger simmering under my skin. Tate always did this. When he felt like he was losing control, he turned everything into a battle he had to win. But lying there on the bed, pinned under his stubborn certainty, I realized something that made my frustration burn even hotter. He wasn't asking, and that was exactly the problem. Tate's grip tightened when I tried to twist away from him. "Submit," he said sharply. "Stop fighting and do as you're told." I kept wiggling, trying to break free, but he pulled me back against him, locking his arms around me like a vice. My frustration bubbled up immediately. "Tate, let go," I snapped. "No," he shot back. His voice was firm, stubborn, completely certain of itself. "I'm in charge of this relationship and I call the shots." Before I could argue again, he shifted behind me and pulled me closer, spooning me tightly. His arm draped across my waist, holding me there whether I liked it or not. "Just stop," he muttered, clearly exhausted from the fight. His fingers moved up, brushing lightly against my lips as if trying to quiet me. I turned my head away, annoyed. "You're impossible." He leaned closer, his breath warm near my ear. "Stop being a fucking twat and give up," he whispered, his voice rough with frustration and stubborn determination. I went still for a moment, staring at the wall in front of me. Tate had always been like this, unyielding once he decided something. Wrestling him physically or arguing with him when he was in that mindset rarely worked. Behind me, his breathing slowly began to steady, the tension in his body easing as if simply having me there was enough to calm whatever storm had been raging inside him. But I lay there awake, annoyed and restless, very aware that Tate thought he had already won and there was very little I could accomplish or right this imbalance. I slipped out of Tate's bed around 7 in the morning, moving slowly so the mattress wouldn't creak. His arm shifted slightly as I left, but he didn't wake. For a moment I just stood there in the dark, listening to his steady breathing, making sure he was still asleep. Then I quietly left the room and retreated down the hall to Tate's room. Once inside, I shut the door and locked it. The soft click felt louder than it should have in the quiet house. I leaned against the door for a second, letting out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. On the bedside table was the small key that fit Tate's door. I picked it up, hesitated, then slipped it under my pillow. If Tate tried the door, I didn't want the key sitting out where he could grab it. Only then did I crawl into the bed. His room felt strange compared to his. Too quiet, too empty, no constant warmth beside me, no arm thrown across my waist, no restless shifting in the middle of the night. Part of me appreciated the space. Another part of me had grown so used to Tate's presence that the silence felt unnatural. Eventually, exhaustion won, my eyes closed and I drifted off. I don't know how much time passed before I stirred again. Something heavy was pressing on me. At first I thought I was dreaming, but then I felt the warmth, the familiar weight across my chest and stomach. My eyes snapped open. Tate was lying on top of me. He had somehow gotten into the room and climbed onto the bed, half sprawled over me like I was a mattress he'd claimed. His face was buried near my shoulder, his hair tickling my neck. He was muttering softly in his sleep. "Noah." His voice was thick with sleep, barely more than a whisper. His arms tightened slightly around me as if, even unconscious, he was afraid I might disappear again. I stared up at the ceiling, stunned. The door had been locked, the key was still under my pillow, and somehow Tate had still found his way back on top of me. I was downstairs helping Talia cook breakfast when I heard Tate's bedroom door open upstairs. I didn't need to see his face to know what he had discovered. He had woken up alone. The thought made my stomach tighten, but I kept my hands busy at the counter, slicing fruit while Talia hummed quietly beside the stove. The smell of coffee and toast filled the kitchen, warm and ordinary, almost enough to make the house feel normal. Almost. A few minutes later, I heard heavy footsteps on the stairs. Tate appeared in the doorway. His hair was still messy from sleep, his t-shirt wrinkled, but his eyes immediately found me, and when they did, they narrowed into a glare so sharp it could have cut glass. He knew. I felt it instantly, the silent accusation hanging in the air between us. "You left me." Neither of us said anything at first. Talia set plates on the table, pretending not to notice the tension thickening the room. Tate sat down slowly, but he never took his eyes off me. The glare didn't fade the entire time we ate. Every few seconds I could feel it again, burning into the side of my face. Angry, possessive, calculating. He hated that I'd left his bed early, hated it enough that I could practically hear the gears turning in his head while he stabbed at his eggs. Tate wasn't someone who accepted losing, even in small things. If something happened once, he immediately started figuring out how to stop it from happening again. And as he stared at me across the table, jaw tight and eyes dark with quiet fury, I knew exactly what he was thinking. Tomorrow would be different. He was already planning how to make sure I didn't leave his bed again. Under the table, Tate started playing footsie with me. At first it was subtle, his socked foot brushing against my ankle, nudging my leg like he was trying to get my attention without anyone else noticing. I knew exactly what he was doing. I ignored it. Instead, I kept my eyes on Talia and focused on the conversation she was having about some new recipe she wanted the family chef to try. I nodded along, asked a question, and forced myself to act completely normal. Across from me, Tate grew very still. His foot brushed mine again, more deliberately this time, sliding along my shin. When I didn't react, it pressed harder, tapping insistently against my leg like a silent demand. "Look at me." I kept talking to Talia. She didn't seem to notice anything strange, though I suspected she probably sensed the tension humming between us like static in the air. Under the table, Tate's foot moved again, tracing along my ankle. When I still refused to acknowledge him, he nudged me harder. I continued pretending nothing was happening. For a few seconds, everything was quiet except for the clinking of forks and Talia's voice. Then suddenly, thump, Tate kicked the side of my ankle under the table right on the funny bone. Ah! I jerked in my chair, the sharp electric jolt shooting up my arm. My fork clattered against the plate as I grabbed my ankle. Across the table, Tate looked completely innocent, but his eyes were locked on mine now, and there was the faintest, most satisfied smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. He had my attention. The next few nights, I didn't achieve my goal of sleeping alone. After the footsie incident at breakfast, the house felt strangely tense all day. By 7 o'clock that night, I had retreated to the living room, reading a comic book under the soft lamplight. The kind of quiet that feels temporary, like it's holding its breath for something else to happen. I was just starting to put my things away when I noticed Tate on the couch, slouched in that infuriatingly casual way that made him look effortless even when he was doing nothing. I stood up to walk upstairs to the bathroom, but before I could even react, he was up and moving toward me. My instinct was to get up to step away, but he reached out, grabbing my arm and pulling me to my feet. I froze, staring at him, trying to figure out what he thought he was doing. "Just going to go brush my teeth," I said, my voice careful but firm. "I'll come with you," he replied, his tone soft, but there was an edge of possessiveness to it, like I was a child he couldn't leave alone. I blinked at him. "What?" He shrugged, an almost playful expression on his face, like he thought he was being reasonable. "I can't leave you alone, you might run away." I wanted to roll my eyes, to laugh at the absurdity of being treated like a runaway at 20-something, but before I could say anything he fell into step beside me, brushing his hands on the towel as I brushed my teeth. Then the thought hit me, sudden and panicked: I need space. Now. I made a break for it. Down the hall, my sneakers clicking against the hardwood floor, adrenaline pumping through me, my heart hammered not just from running but from that constant, impossible feeling of him trailing me wherever I went. Tate was right on my heels, moving with that ridiculous speed and precision that made it impossible to get away. I reached the spare room and lunged for the door, ready to lock it and finally have a moment to myself. And then everything went wrong. Tate hit the door at the same instant I tried to close it. The impact slammed me backwards across the floor, my body jolted violently by the force. I landed hard, my back hitting the edge of the mattress as the air whooshed from my lungs. Pain shot through me, not sharp, not subtle, but all-consuming, a raw reminder that I wasn't light enough to withstand his collision. Tate froze for a fraction of a second, eyes wide, not surprised, not guilty, just intensely aware of what had happened. "Are you?" I started, voice tight with a mix of shock and panic, but words failed me. "Shit," he muttered, rushing forward to steady me, though he hadn't stopped moving entirely. His hand brushed mine as he tried to check if I was okay, and I flinched instinctively. From 3 doors down, Talia's voice rang out, loud and irritated. "Keep it down, what on earth are you two doing?" The words collided with the chaos, but I barely registered them. My pulse was still racing, my head buzzing from the force and the absurdity of it all. I took a shaky breath, trying to regain control. I said, voice tight, I just needed to lock the door." Tate, standing too close, nude in that infuriatingly casual way he always seemed to occupy space, tilted his head, eyes full of that strange mixture of concern and mischief. "You're not running anywhere," he said quietly, almost to himself, though his gaze never left mine. I swallowed hard, pressing a hand to my chest where the impact had jarred me, trying to slow my racing heart. The spare room, the one place I thought I could claim, felt just as impossible to control as the rest of the house. I had hit the floor hard, the impact knocking the air out of me, as Tate barreled into the door like some kind of ramming elephant. "Serves you right for playing hard to get," Tate muttered under his breath, chest brushing mine as he leaned over. "Hiding from me, thinking you can escape." Tate dragged me toward his bedroom that night, every step deliberate, unrelenting. My limbs flailed, fingers groping for anything to latch onto, anything to stop him. "I don't want to go in there," I shouted, voice cracking as adrenaline surged and my chest tightened. "Why are you resisting me?" Tate thought, frustration coiling tight in his chest. "You belong here, you belong to me. Why is this so hard for you to understand? I've waited, I've chased, I've bled for you. And now you act like I'm some intruder? No, you're mine, Noe." "Stop fighting," he said sharply, his tone steady, cold, and unyielding, as if my struggle were nothing but a trivial irritation. "I told you how it's going to be. Do what you're told." "Do what I say? Yes, that's all I ask. That's all you've ever been, my focus, my obsession, my favorite. Why can't you just give me this one thing, one moment, one surrender? Just stay with me, just stay close, please." My hands grabbed the doorframe of the spare room, knuckles white, fingers clutching the hinges like they were lifelines. He tugged, and I felt them wrench painfully. Each attempt to hold my ground only made him tighten his grip, more force, more insistence. "You think you're strong, you think you can resist me," Tate thought, his chest pounding, pulse spiking. "You're strong, yes, you're stubborn, infuriating, impossible. But you're mine, and no one gets to take you away. Not me, not anyone, not for a second. I can't, I won't, I can't survive a moment without you." "Ridiculous," he muttered under his breath, voice low, laced with irritation and desire. "You look like a child." His hands pushed me back, shoving me across the floor and onto the mattress. My body bounced lightly from the impact, heart racing, pulse hammering, but he wasn't done. Look at you, flailing, struggling, resisting me. God, it's maddening and it's beautiful. You're mine. I've wanted this, needed this for so long, and now I have you. Even if you fight me, even if you scream, even if you hate me for it, I'll make you feel it. You belong here, you belong to me. I want what I want, he said, voice rising, sharp and raw now, trembling with something between anger and desperate need. And the more you play hard to get, the worse it's going to be for you. I can't lose you, not again, I can't. Every second without you, every moment of distance between us feels like dying. I need you. Tate reached into his pocket and pulled out a key, sliding it into the window lock. A metallic click echoed in the small room as he secured the window shutters. I froze, chest tight, pulse hammering. My arms and legs were useless against him, my protests drowned out by the dominance of his presence. Before I could even gather my thoughts, he went over to the window and locked the left shutter, turning back to me with an expression that was a mixture of irritation, possessiveness, and that faint, unshakable certainty that he would get what he wanted. I lay there, tangled in the sheets, chest heaving, wondering how I had ended up trapped not just physically but emotionally, by someone who refused to understand boundaries, someone who made it clear in every action that my resistance only made him more determined. While Tate's back was turned, fiddling with the window lock, I saw my chance. I bolted off the bed like the devil himself was chasing me. My legs scrambled beneath me, almost tripping over themselves as I lunged toward the door. And then, crash. I ran straight into Talia. She stumbled backwards, arms flailing, barely keeping her balance. "Noah Lunas," she swore, her voice sharp with shock. "What are you doing, damn?" "I am sorry," I stammered, reaching out to help her up. But there was no time to pause, not now. I spun around, heart hammering, adrenaline blazing, and took off again, but fate, or maybe just Tate, was waiting. I ran straight into his chest. "Gotcha," he said, that infuriatingly smug tone in his voice. "Thank you, mother," he muttered under his breath, exasperated, panic-making words spill out faster than thought. Before I could even pivot, he was on me, hands strong and unyielding. I tried to twist, to pull away, but he had already seized me, his grip firm and unrelenting. He shoved me hard, back first, into his bedroom. The door slammed behind me with a metallic thunk that made my stomach drop. I pressed my hands against his chest, trying to shove him off, trying to find any leverage, but it was useless. He was too big, too strong, and impossibly determined. After my feeble attempts to assert boundaries fell as flat as a souffle in a classroom full of children, it became painfully clear it was Tate's turn to set the rules. And this wasn't a negotiation. This wasn't a question. This was plain and simple. How high are you going to jump, Noah? He shoved me with a firm, practiced strength, sending me stumbling toward the bed as he locked the bedroom door. I bolted again, desperate, hands scrabbling at the locked frame. The lock didn't budge. My shouts echoed through the room, frantic pleas for his parents, anyone to intervene, and then he was there. I pounded on Tate's door, desperation fueling each frantic bang. "Help, somebody!" I begged, voice cracking, raw panic echoing in my chest. My hands rattled the frame, every nerve screaming to escape, to break free. Tate was smirking in the corner, amused that I didn't want to be where anyone in LA would die to be. Before I could take another breath, Tate was there. His large, cold hand clamped over my mouth in one swift, unyielding motion, silencing me instantly. The warmth of his palm pressed against my lips, firm yet somehow intimate, unyielding yet somehow safe. My muffled screams rattled in my chest, vibrating against his hand, and for the first time I felt like I couldn't even make the sound of my own fear. Tate adjusted his grip slightly, tilting his fingers so my nose could still draw breath. Careful, he thought, a flicker of tenderness threading his obsession. I want him to struggle, I want him to resist, but I can't. Not entirely, not enough to hurt him, not enough to lose the moment. His thumb traced lightly along my jaw, warm and deliberate, caressing the line of my face in emotion that was equal parts pleading and possessive. "Surrender, accept this. You belong here, you're mine," Tate thought. The sensation was maddening. His hand on my mouth, firm, confident, unrelenting, felt intimate in a way that made my pulse stutter and surge simultaneously. My body betrayed me, heart racing, heat pooling low in my stomach despite every ounce of fear and anger. This is wrong, and yet, God, it feels like he's worshipping me. He's holding me, touching me, claiming me, and it's intoxicating. Tate's laugh broke through the tension, light, amused, almost playful, as if every panic squeak I managed to make was the most hilarious sound he'd heard all week. "Yes, that's it. React, panic, squirm, struggle. It only proves how alive you are, how much you belong to me," he thought, eyes glinting with cruel joy and affection all at once. His lips brushed against my ear, warm, low, and teasing. "Rich boys can do anything they want," he whispered, the weight of each word pressing into my chest. "Strip, and get in bed. I'm cold, I'm tired, and you've tired me out after chasing you for 15 minutes. My pulse spiked, every nerve on fire. I can't. My hands twitched, fingers flexing helplessly against his grip. But the mix of fear, desire, and the undeniable closeness, the intimacy of his hand pressed to my mouth, his thumb stroking my jaw, ignited something dangerously combustible. My body betrayed me with heat, a subtle, guilty thrum in my lower stomach, heart racing as adrenaline mixed with an attraction I didn't want to admit. Tate felt it too, his chest pressed closer to mine, the way my body responded, the way my pulse thumped beneath his grip. Yes, he feels it, he can't help it, he belongs here with me like this. Every flinch, every panic-stricken squeak, every gasp that slips past me, it all tells me he's mine, and God, it makes me happy, so damn happy. I tried to twist, tried to fight, tried to wrench my hands free, but his grip was perfect, not steel, not cruel, just impossibly controlling. His hand on my mouth felt almost like a kiss, a claim, urgent yet romantic, possessive yet intimate. Each movement of his thumb, each shift of his palm was a silent demand: accept me, accept us, surrender. This is him, Tate's favorite person in the world, and right now, he's mine, he's reacting, he's alive, and he's feeling it too. He can't escape this, not entirely, not from me, and I'm ecstatic just feeling this moment, just having him under me, mine trembling against me. I gasped silently under his hand, breath hitching and heat pooling like wildfire. I hate this, and I want it. I hate him for making me feel this way, and I want him for it. I'm burning, I can't. Tate pressed closer, his lips brushing against my ear again, warm, coaxing, and my pulse raced even faster. Yes, surrender, Noe, just for tonight, just to me. You can't fight it, you won't fight it, and I'll make sure you know exactly what it means to be mine. Tate's grip stayed firm as he leaned in closer, his breath brushing against Noah's ear, his voice dropping to a low, controlled whisper. "I have a copy of every key for every door in this house, Noah," he murmured. The words sank in immediately. "You locking a door won't keep me out at night." A soft, almost amused laugh followed, edged with something that made Noah's chest tighten. "Stop playing hard to get. You must be trying to get my attention because Noah thinks I ignored you. You don't have to play hard to get." Tate held Noah's body firmly in place, keeping him from turning, from pulling away, from creating even an inch of space between them. His grip wasn't frantic anymore, it was steady, deliberate, like he'd settled into the control he'd taken. "I love you," Tate said, his voice softer now, almost tender against Noah's ear. For a split second the words hung there, something that should have meant comfort, something that should have softened everything that came before it. But then, "Loving you gives me the right to have you in my bed. You want to be here too, but you're too stubborn to admit it. Will you stop acting like a child?" he said, voice teasing, warm but loaded with dominance. "You make it sound like this is a punishment. Do you know how many girls in our high school would die to have this experience?" I tried to wriggle, to shake my head, to make him understand that this wasn't some game, that I wasn't playing along. "You don't even have anything expected from you," he continued, smirking, pressing slightly closer, his weight still firm against me. "All you have to do is lie still, shut the fuck up." My heart hammered, panic was radiating through my limbs. My mind screamed escape, screamed for someone, anyone, to intervene. My hands twisted futilely under his grip, my body pressed against the door, useless against his superior size and strength. He leaned slightly, just enough for his presence to fill every space around me. "That's all it takes," he said quietly, almost fondly, as if comforting me while simultaneously reminding me I had no power. And I realized with a sinking sense of dread that there was no one coming to stop him. Not tonight, not ever. In this moment, I was trapped, and Tate was in complete control. Tate's hand was still firmly over my mouth. He pulled me into bed, he moved his hand with calculated care, making sure my nose wasn't covered. Even in his anger or amusement, he would never truly hurt me. Not physically, not lethally. But that didn't mean he wouldn't use every inch of his body to assert control, to negotiate dominance in the most subtle and suffocating ways. His hand pressed against my lips, soft but firm, muting my screams. I could barely breathe, and even though panic surged, I realized that nobody could hear me. Then he leaned closer, his warm breath brushing my ear, words sliding in like a velvet threat. "Your job," he whispered, voice low, deliberate, "is to shut up, lie down, and let me stay warm. I have anxiety when I'm all by myself. Your role in this house is to keep me happy. I struggled against his grip, but it was useless. He was bigger, stronger, and unyielding. I don't care if it's something you don't like, he continued, his tone calm, almost instructional. It's the only reason you're here. We're companions. I feed you, clothe you, and put up with you. Not so you can sleep down the hall. No, you're supposed to amuse me, and this. His voice dipped, tinged with frustration. This is not the way I like being amused. A shiver ran down my spine. Every word felt like an invisible weight pressing down on me. If I find you slip out in the middle of the night for any reason, he added, voice colder now, even to sleep on the floor, we're going to have a problem. And the problem, he paused, letting it hang sharp and dangerous, is going to end up with you having a red behind, and not a light one, not on my watch, understood? I nodded, barely able to speak, my chest tight. Fear, disbelief, and a reluctant sense of submission tangled together in a storm inside me. Tate's hand lingered on my lips a moment longer, his gaze steady, unblinking. And though part of me screamed at the injustice, part of me couldn't escape the undeniable weight of his presence, the unrelenting certainty in his voice, and the terrifying clarity that in this room, in this house, at this moment, he decided everything. I'll relent, Tate said, voice low but hard, pressing the weight of his presence into the room. You can have friends once we go to college if you have to, as long as I'm there every second of the time, and you return home with me to bed. I'm not against you having people to amuse you, but I am primary. I make the rules in this relationship. It's about my needs, but I'll make an effort to create space so you can fulfill yours. And if you're going to be in this house, you're going to stay where I tell you to stay. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady, but my pulse was racing. This, he continued, stepping closer, shadow looming, is not a partnership, it's a dictatorship. I make the rules, you follow the rules or get out. My parents do whatever I tell them to do when it comes to you, and if it makes me happy, they follow. If I'm happy, I become the best son they can have. They're not going to come and help you no matter how loud you scream for help. My chest tightened, every instinct screaming at me that this was beyond normal boundaries. If I have to sit on you or throw you out in the cold so you can go home to wherever you live because you just can't obey the rules of the house, so be it, he said, voice rising, sharp and cutting. You sleep here in my bed or you don't sleep anywhere on this property and we'll never see each other again. Your role is to make me happy, and me trying to pull a door off its hinges each night because you've blocked it. He shook his head, face dark with frustration. That isn't bringing me joy. He paused, eyes locking on mine, the sheer force of his will pressing down like a physical weight. I felt cornered, trapped, not just physically but emotionally. Every word he spoke carved into me, reminding me how entirely, impossibly, I had no control here. I opened my mouth maybe to argue, to protest, to reason, but the words stuck. There was no reasoning with the intensity in his voice, the absolute certainty that in this house, in this relationship, he decided everything. Tate's voice didn't soften. If anything, it grew sharper, more precise, like a scalpel cutting through every shred of confidence I had left. I've fucked many girls, he said, voice low, deliberate, dangerous. And I've slept with a lot of people, Noah, everybody is the same. I could replace you 5 minutes ago. The words hit like a physical blow, and I felt my stomach twist, heat rushing to my face. You have no muscles, he continued, tone cold, clinical. No beauty, no sex appeal, you're sweet and naive, those are your two attractive qualities. I stared at him, chest tight, mind screaming for some kind of argument, some way to push back. But every time I opened my mouth, the weight of his presence, the certainty in his tone, the deliberate cruelty, pinned my thoughts. That's what the people in this town see you as, Tate said, voice low but sharp like a whip cracking through the silence. They don't see you as worthy of being my companion, they don't even see you as worth holding my attention for more than 2 seconds. I stiffened under the weight of his words, a hot, twisting mix of shame and disbelief surging through me. You don't come from money, he continued, packing slightly, shadow falling across my body. You don't even have a father willing to bankroll you, you have no property, no assets. Guys ask me all the time in the locker room why I'm with you. He smirked, shaking his head like it was all absurd. And I usually respond with a knuckle sandwich. I swallowed hard, chest tightening, hands curling into fists at my sides. But here's the thing, he said, leaning closer, voice dropping to a murmur that somehow made it worse. I see something in you that no one else in this town does. If you weren't standing next to me, people wouldn't even notice you, they wouldn't care. He paused, letting the words sink in, the silence heavy and suffocating. That's because the people in this town, he continued, voice now almost reverent, don't have any fashion, flair, or imagination. People in this town don't have any flair, they don't have a soul. His eyes locked onto mine. You're the only person in this town, Noah, that has an innocent soul. A strange, contradictory heat rose in me, pride mixed with fear, admiration tangled with frustration. I wanted to argue, to shout, to tell him he had no right to decide my value, but the intensity of his presence, the certainty in every word left me frozen. Tate's gaze didn't waver, every syllable hammered into me like a rule I didn't get to question. And as much as my mind screamed for distance, for independence, a part of me, the part he claimed to see, quivered under the weight of being noticed in such a singular, consuming way. Tate stopped mid-sentence when he saw my shoulders shaking, the subtle hitch of my breath giving away the tears I couldn't hold back. He watched silently for a moment, the sharp edge in his eyes softening just slightly, as if he already knew I was a sensitive little boy underneath everything else. I didn't mean to make you cry, he said, voice quieter now, measured but still carrying authority. I'm just telling you what people in this town view you as. I don't see you that way. My chest heaved as I tried to stifle my sobs, but the words felt like they were being pulled out of me regardless. I told you from the very beginning where you sleep, what you do, and what your role is here, he continued, voice firm, unwavering. We're not friends, Noah, we're not buddies, not brothers. You're here so I don't get lonely, but don't think that I will put up with just anything or that I have a high patience level. I don't. He paused, frustration flickering across his face, and then his voice rose sharply. I've had it with your rebellion, your inability to do as you're fucking told. If I have to go down the hall to find you, we're going to have a problem. I flinched at the volume, my hands trembling against my thighs. I'm the rich boy in this situation, Tate continued, chest heaving, eyes blazing with a mix of anger and insistence. I'm the one who makes the rules. If you don't like it, gather your stuff and get out of my life. This isn't a democracy. If you stay in this house, you do as you're told by the people who live here. The words hit me like walls closing in. Every instinct screamed to run, to resist, but his presence, his sheer certainty, pressed me into silence. I couldn't argue, I couldn't fight. All I could do was sit there, shaking, caught between fear, sorrow, and a strange, reluctant awe at the force that was Tate. Tate's body pressed against mine from behind, his warmth enveloping me in a suffocating embrace as he spooned me with calculated precision. His voice was low at first, steady and insistent, and then it hardened, cutting through the air like a blade. Don't think, he said, tone sharp, that because my mother gives you a choice or offers you another room that you actually have a choice. You don't. That cunt doesn't understand how this family works. That's why I'm here. The men in this family make the choices. The women do as they're told by rolling over in bed. His grip on me tightened slightly, a reminder that every inch of me was within his control. And since you don't have any money, he continued, voice rising, which isn't really your fault, it's your stupid parents' fault. You get to be the woman in this scenario. Be thankful. You have a warm bed to sleep in, a finer way of life. And when you screw up, I take the heat. But if I'm taking the heat, then your butt is going to get the heat too. You're lucky, runt, that I love you, or else this relationship would be pointless and your rebellion would end it. I stiffened under him, chest tight, heart hammering. My hands pressed weakly against his arm, but he didn't relent. I'm done putting up with your childish behavior, he said, voice rising further, sharp and urgent. By 9 o'clock I want your butt in this bed ready to go to sleep. I have a condition. I can't sleep because of anxiety, and if I don't get my 8 hours, his tone snapped, dangerously sharp, I'm taking it out on your ass with my hand. The words hit me like a punch, both terrifying and humiliating. My stomach twisted, adrenaline flaring, panic clawing at my chest. I wanted to protest, to run, to scream, but there was no escape. Tate's body, his words, his absolute certainty left no room for argument. I could feel every inch of him pressing into me, his presence like a storm, controlling, oppressive, unrelenting. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a small, terrified part of me realized that no matter what I did, no matter how I wriggled or begged, his will in this house, and in this bed, was absolute. Now shut your pretty blue eyes and go to bed before I lose my temper. Tate's voice was low and furious, every word crackling with the force of his anger. He pressed against me, spooning me from behind, his body heat suffocating, his presence impossible to ignore. I don't want to hear any more of your spare room bullshit, he continued, voice sharp and cutting. If Mother asks about it, you'll say you've changed your mind, that we've reconciled, that you've put those stupid ideas out of your empty blonde head. Until you start doing your role here, Noah, listen carefully, you have an empty head. My stomach tightened, panic flaring. I wanted to argue, to insist, but his words and the weight of his body pressed down on every bit of resistance I had left. If the conditions, which, by the way, really aren't conditions but orders, don't meet your pristine trailer trash expectations, he said, his voice rising fierce and commanding, you can put on my shoes and my clothes and get the hell out. I can find women who would sleep in this bed for no reason whatsoever and they wouldn't leave until I tell them to leave. I swallowed hard, mind reeling, chest tight. Every fiber of me screamed to resist, to escape, but the sheer certainty in his voice and the inescapable pressure of his body made that impossible. Tate's anger was absolute, his dominance was absolute, and in that moment, trapped beneath him, I understood with stark clarity my role in this house, in this bed, and under him was entirely at his discretion. Tate sighed, trying not to react in anger but chose to transition into another emotion, sentiment. All right, listen, Tate said, his voice still sharp but tinged with a rare edge of sincerity. I'll bankroll your college, I'll buy you a house, I'll do anything that makes you happy. I froze, the words shocking me, clashing violently with the anger and control he'd been exerting moments before. Just do what I tell you to do because your role isn't about me exploiting your body or proximity, he continued, his tone shifting back to that commanding, iron-hard authority. And it's only two things: be by my side and be in this fucking bed. That's it. It's not difficult, but for some reason, you're either too rebellious, too stubborn, or you like to rile me up. You just can't do what you're told. My chest tightened, a swirl of fear, frustration, and something darker gnawing at me. If I didn't like you so much, Noah, he said, leaning closer, the weight of his body pressing into me, I would have thrown you out after the second time you disobeyed me. Your antics, your screaming for help. My parents find it amusing. They don't take you seriously. I felt the heat of his body and the intensity of his gaze like a physical pressure, and my heart pounded in my chest. Then he leaned over, brushing his lips against the side of my head in a fleeting, almost tender gesture. Do you understand? He murmured. Even with that moment of contact, there was no softness in the demand. It was still a warning, a rule, a claim. I nodded mutely, trapped in the combination of his words, his body, and the inescapable authority he wielded over me. I shouldn't have to perform my daily cardio chasing you down the hall, pulling you out of places you're not allowed to be, Tate yelled, his voice echoing through the room, sharp and angry. Just because that woman down the hall says you can do what you want doesn't mean I allow it. She can't do what she wants. His body pressed against mine, the heat and weight of him impossible to ignore, and I felt my chest tighten as I tried to shrink into myself, desperate for some semblance of space. I'll buy you a house, he hissed, voice rising, fingers pressing into my shoulder as if to punctuate every word. I'll buy you anything. If you want me to buy you a dozen hookers, fine, just do the two fucking things I tell you. It's not hard. I've never had to state these rules before because your favorite place was next to mine. Something's changed and I hate it. I swallowed, my throat tight. My thoughts raced, scrambling for some way to argue, to escape, to breathe without him noticing, but every instinct told me it was futile. There's a line of people waiting for my attention, he continued, eyes blazing, the raw force of his anger making my stomach knot. Don't make me regret the time I've spent focusing on somebody that doesn't appreciate it. I felt pinned not just physically but mentally, like there was no space left inside my own head that wasn't occupied by him. Tate's presence pressed in on me from every angle, suffocating, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. Every word he'd said echoed back at me, louder now, sharper, like they were carving something into me I didn't agree to but couldn't stop. This is his world, I realized, the thought settling heavy in my chest. His house, his rules, and somehow, I'm the one bending to them. My pulse raced, uneven, caught between resistance and something more dangerous, something that made it harder to think clearly the longer I stayed near him. The air itself felt thick, charged with him, like even breathing meant taking him in. I don't want this, I told myself, clinging to the thought like a lifeline. I don't want to disappear into him, but my body didn't listen. My heart hammered not just from fear but from the intensity of being seen, completely, relentlessly, by someone who refused to look away. Tate stood close enough that I could feel his heat without touching him, and that somehow made it worse. He's staying, I realized. He's not backing down, not now, not ever. To him this wasn't a conflict. It wasn't something to question or negotiate, it was simple: I'm here, he's here, that's all that matters. And me, I felt like I was being pulled under, slowly, steadily, like resisting him took more energy than I had left. If I give in, even a little, do I lose myself? The thought lingered heavy and unanswered as my chest rose and fell too fast, caught between holding my ground and the terrifying pull of letting go. Even as fear and frustration swirled inside me, a tiny, stubborn part of me flinched at the thought that despite all this anger, despite the shouting, despite the absolute dominance he displayed, he had chosen to focus on me. "I'm stronger than you, Noah," Tate said, voice low, steady but laced with an undeniable edge of authority. His body pressed against mine, the heat and weight of him making every word feel like a physical force. "I could force you to do anything I want. I could force you to sleep here. I could force you into whatever relationship I desire, and if I wanted sex I could force you to give me whatever I wanted, either with light sweet talking or through some transactional trade. I don't want, nor will I stoop so low as to force myself on you or desire sex from you ever. This relationship is about free choice, comfort without the threat of forced intimacy, freedom from sex and platonic love. Unlike anyone else in this town, I see you as a person with feelings and desires beyond what you can give others. You don't owe me anything. If you walk out that door and never come back, if you stay in this house, we sleep together, no exceptions." Tate's hand was still pressed firmly over my mouth as he lay behind me in his bed, his body close enough that I could feel every shift of his breath against my back. A sharp gust of fear, disbelief, and humiliation surged through me all at once, leaving my chest tight and my thoughts scattered. "You have a choice whether you want to stay in this house and perform the two things I ask of you, or you can leave and never come back." My hands clenched at my sides, fingernails digging hard into my palms as if the pain might anchor me, might remind me I still had control over something, anything. But it didn't matter. He didn't loosen his grip, not even slightly. His presence was absolute. It filled the room, pressed into my skin, wrapped around my thoughts until there was no clear edge between where I ended and he began. Every small movement I made seemed already anticipated, already contained. He's not letting go, I realized, the thought landing heavy, undeniable, not because he can't, but because he won't. Behind me he felt immovable, steady, certain, like this moment had already been decided in his mind long before I ever stepped into it. And the worst part wasn't just the pressure of his hand or the closeness of his body, it was the certainty. The way he acted, like this was already his, like I was already his, like there was no version of this night where I got to choose differently. My breath came shallow through my nose, uneven, controlled only because he allowed it to be. My pulse hammered, loud and frantic in my ears, but it felt distant somehow, like I was watching myself from the outside, trapped in a moment that refused to loosen its grip. And behind me, unmoving, unwavering, Tate held on. "You're lucky," he continued, eyes locked on mine, voice sharp. "I don't want those things from you. I have all the power and all the information here. I want you to sleep in my bed because you want to, and if I have to push or incentivize you to do it or spank you because you're too stubborn to do a simple task, fine." The words cut through me, a mixture of warning and confession, and I felt my pulse hammering in my chest. My mind scrambled, trying to navigate the impossible weight of his dominance, the inescapable certainty that he could enforce whatever he desired. And yet, beneath that suffocating control, a flicker of something darker, something intoxicating, stirred, an awareness that in this twisted balance of fear, desire, and obedience, I mattered to him in a way no one else ever had. Tate's hand moved through my blonde hair with deliberate gentleness, fingertips weaving through the strands like he was soothing a fragile animal, even as his voice sliced through the quiet of the room with sharp authority. Every word he spoke reminded my body exactly who held control here. My body stiffened, my stomach twisting, but his hand never faltered. He kept weaving his fingers through my hair, softly tugging, stroking, and smoothing over the tangles. The touch should have been comforting, but every word contradicted it, each phrase a reminder of my subordinate position. Fear and warmth battled in my chest, twisting together into something impossible to label. Somebody else might have flinched at his words, might have cringed at the sharpness of his commands. Some might have felt small, belittled, or dehumanized. But in that moment I was trapped in an almost impossible duality. I was simultaneously being disciplined, spoken down to, dominated, and yet stroked, cared for, noticed in a way that no one else had ever noticed me. His control extended not just to my actions, but to my body, to my emotions, to the strange, inescapable way my mind reacted to him. Every twitch of his fingers, every curl of his palm over my scalp was deliberate. I could feel the heat of his body behind me, the solid weight of him pressing against me, a tangible reminder that resistance was not an option. And yet the hand moving in slow, gentle circles, the slight brush against my temples and forehead suggested something else, something intimate, almost protective. It was infuriating and terrifying in equal measure. I swallowed, feeling my throat dry, my pulse hammering in my ears. Part of me wanted to pull away, to insist on space, to assert some shred of independence. But the sheer certainty of his presence, the undeniable authority in his voice made that impossible. Every nerve in my body seemed to hum with tension, fear, and something else I didn't want to name, some deeper response to being both dominated and gently held at the same time. His words continued, cutting through the quiet like a blade, steady and deliberate, while his fingers traced slow, absent patterns, never faltering, never uncertain. "Do you understand, Noah?" Tate murmured, his voice low, controlled, but threaded with something softer beneath it. "This isn't negotiable, this isn't a suggestion." His hand paused briefly, then resumed, gentler now, almost thoughtful. "Your role here is simple," he continued, quieter, closer. "Be by my side, sleep in this bed, that's all I'm asking." "Asking?" I echoed silently, my chest tightening at the word. It didn't feel like asking, it felt like gravity, something I was already caught in. Tate exhaled slowly, his tone shifting, less sharp now, more earnest. Everything else is a luxury," he said, but there was no mockery in it, only a strange kind of honesty. "Something you get because I allow it, because I want to give it to you." His fingers brushed more deliberately now, almost carefully, like he was reminding himself I was real, that I was still there. "I'm a generous host," he added, a faint, conflicted smile touching his voice. "You know that. I take care of what's mine, I make sure you're comfortable, safe, wanted." Wanted, I repeated in my mind, the word landing heavier than it should have. My pulse quickened, not entirely from fear. "But I have rules," he went on, softer again, more vulnerable than before. "Expectations, not because I want to control you." He hesitated just for a second, "but because I need you close. I need to know you're not going to disappear on me." My breath caught slightly, "So that's it." "If you please me," Tate said, quieter now, almost coaxing, "I'll reward you, you know I will. I like making you happy. I like seeing you relax, seeing you smile." There was warmth there now, real, unguarded. "But if you push me away, if you keep trying to leave," his voice tightened, not angry but strained, "then yeah, you lose the privilege of being here because I can't." He stopped himself, swallowing the rest. He can't handle it, I realized, something shifting in my chest. "My patience has limits, Noah," he finished, but softer than before, almost tired. "Even my sense of humor does." There was a pause, his hand stilled for just a second against me. "I don't need you," he said finally, but the words didn't land the way he intended. There was a crack in them, something unsteady. "I don't have to want you." My chest tightened. "That's not true." His fingers curled slightly, holding on now instead of just touching. "But I do," he admitted, barely above a whisper. "I want you here, I want you with me, that's it, it's not complicated for me." His voice softened completely then, the edge gone, replaced by something almost pleading beneath the control. "I just want you to stay." I didn't move, didn't speak. But my heart, traitorous, conflicted, kept racing anyway. And still he kept stroking my hair, lightly tugging at the ends, smoothing over my scalp with an almost hypnotic rhythm. I could feel the contrast in my mind, the collision of emotions, the frustration of being spoken down to, the terror of his absolute control, and yet the strange, unrelenting pull of the tender care in his touch. It didn't make sense, and that made it even more disorienting. Noah lay still, listening to the steady rise and fall of Tate's breathing behind him. It should have been calming, reassuring, even, but it wasn't, not tonight. His thoughts drifted, slipping backward whether he wanted them to or not, back to the day before his 18th birthday, back to hiding from bullies at school. He'd been curled up inside one of the stalls in the women's bathroom, knees pulled tight to his chest, trying to make himself smaller, quieter, anything to disappear. The hallways had been unbearable that day. Too many stares, too many muttered comments, too many laughs that weren't subtle enough to pretend weren't about him. So he hid, just for a few minutes, just to breathe. His eyes had barely closed when the door slammed open. The noise made him flinch instantly. Voices flooded in, bright, loud, careless. The kind of voices that didn't worry about who might be listening. "Oh my God, I swear if coach puts Greg on varsity next year, I'm transferring. one girl said, laughing. Please, you'd never leave, not with all the guys here, another shot back. A chorus of giggles followed. Noah froze, pulling his feet further back, curling his long legs in tighter so his shoes wouldn't show beneath the stall. His fingers pressed into his knees, holding himself still, invisible. They gathered at the sinks, the clatter of makeup bags and bracelets filling the room. Lip gloss caps clicked open. Someone turned on the faucet. Okay, but seriously, a voice cut through Ginny. We need to talk about Tate. Noah's breath caught, of course. Don't even start, another girl groaned. Every girl in this school has a Tate story. Not like June does, someone added quickly, excitement creeping in. There was a shift, energy sharpening, attention focusing. June laughed low and smug. Please, that was forever ago. That was like last year, Ginny shot back, and you never told us everything. Noah leaned forward slightly despite himself, heart starting to pound. Don't listen, he listened anyway. June sighed dramatically like she was already enjoying the attention. Fine, he was different, okay, not like the other guys. Different how? Yeah, what does that even mean? He just paid attention, June said, softer now, almost thoughtful. Like really paid attention, remembered things, stuff I said once and forgot. He didn't forget. Noah's chest tightened. Of course he didn't, he thought bitterly, that's what he does. And he was intense, June added. Like, when he looks at you, it's a lot. Oh my God, yes, another girl chimed in. He does that stare thing, it's kind of scary. Not scary, Ginny corrected quickly. Hot. Laughter rippled again. Noah's fingers curled tighter into his sleeves. Hot, he repeated silently, something sour twisting in his chest. June continued, clearly enjoying herself now. He was sweet too though, like, weirdly romantic. He'd show up with stuff.